Good afternoon and welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I'm Leigh Kubin.
And I'm Sandra Priestley. Welcome to the podcast and happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
I am drinking your drink concoction, which
Oh,
is coffee and protein shake. Like
oh,
I'm drinking this Fairlife. I don't know if you have this Fairlife or vanilla protein shake.
okay.
So freaking good in your coffee. I am addicted to this
Hmm.
in my coffee.
Yeah.
And I get
And
protein
it
in the morning.
fills you up,
It
gives
does.
you some energy. Of course,
And
decaf
I'm
doesn't, but
And I'm not right. And I'm not particularly hungry though in the morning. So if I have a coffee with some protein in it, I mean, it's a better way to start the day than
hmm
nothing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. What are you
Okay.
drinking?
Peach water. I literally slid in to the driveway 3 minutes before we got on this call. And all I had time to do was get my cup out and put some peach water in it. I sent you something this week.
And I responded, oh my gosh. I love this book you wrote. And I just well, and how cool that I get to read the draft. I don't know. It just feels like I'm in on this secret. But I loved it so much, and I responded to you. I don't, you didn't see it,
I
but I
haven't checked my
responded
email
to
this
you.
afternoon.
I said, I adore this book, and I'm so honored to be your friend.
Mm,
And I meant that to the core. I find this book so interesting. And I mean, you and I have talked about this connection challenge that you had done numerous times. I mean, more than just once. We have talked about it on this podcast before or after. And
yeah,
so I kind of felt like I had the inside fucking track on what you were going to say.
right.
I had this concept in my mind that you were interviewing all of these 30 people and that each one of the 30 people had something so beautiful to share, and that you would introduce us to the core essence of each person. Like this was in my mind where you were going to go,
Yeah.
and you didn't do that. And it was so much better than anything I would have written because it came from this idea of, I mean, what you started out the book with was, man, we're disconnected. And you shared the ant theory, which you've shared on this podcast at least once anyway,
Hmm.
but the ants in a jar.
Hmm.
And what I really noticed was each chapter was a concept, and it started out with a statement or a question or something that needed to be answered or expanded on. And then by the time you got to the end of the short chapter, I felt like I had a deepened understanding of the question that you raised at the beginning, or the
Mm,
concept that you raised at the beginning. It was
yeah.
like such a beautifully written piece of art.
Mm, thank you.
Truly. You're a gifted writer. My God, it was fantastic.
It changed me.
Hmm.
We are all so similar. And when we can recognize the humanness in
Yeah.
someone, because I mean, I remember growing up, there was lots to be fearful of and a lot of different people to be afraid of. And the reasons why we should, they were just different than we were.
Yeah.
And I've seen it now that I can look back. I've seen the times that I broke the illusion. Like when Teresa walked into our networking group
Hmm.
and I got up close and personal with this lesbian couple out of that. And what I came to find was they were kind of just like me and Paul. They loved each other. They were living life. They wanted to be happy.
Yeah.
It was clear that God made them that way, however
Right.
you define God.
And this woman in her 70s that you interviewed?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
different. Oh,
This is just me looking back on my life
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and how people have come in and sort of shattered the, oh, be afraid of these people. Go into the mosque, same thing.
Yeah.
But when we start connecting with people, everything changes. And even today, I was at a meeting and I am with two people who we think very similarly about some things. And then
Mhm.
we are polar opposites about others. And old Leigh would have heard their stance on certain things that was just different than my belief. And I would have put them in that bucket and said, they're crazy. Like, just smile and be nice, but they're fucking crazy. But now I'm like, this concept is new to me because I'm sitting here, I'm having resistance actually to some of the things that they're saying. Like, something is welling up in me. Like, that's bullshit.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, but how do you know you're right and they're wrong? You don't even
Right.
have all the information.
Well, and this is like, again, back to Don Miguel Ruiz,
Mm,
right? Like that was so life-changing for me because it just was this very real idea of, hey, your beliefs aren't true. They're just a set of things that you fucking agreed to.
yeah.
And someone else agreed to a different set of things. And so you're both right.
Yeah.
Like that's the concept I had is like, I can't judge someone for being wrong just because
They
they have
think
a
differently.
belief than me,
Yeah.
because my beliefs are true to me in this moment because of everything that has happened to me, everything that I've taken on and agreed with, and vice versa for them.
Yeah.
It gave me grace to give others who
Yeah.
had a different opinion, and I felt this drop of resistance.
Hmm.
Not all the time. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
not always perfect, not all the time, but when I feel the resistance, I go, whoa, I feel very strongly against that. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
That is the exact moment I had because it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can push against this and think
Right.
what you're going to think and then not have any kind of a connection with them. Or maybe you could get a little insight. And interestingly enough, it kind of brought things back around again to how much we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most surprising things that came out of this whole connection challenge was feeling like I'm I'm going to interview someone today that might have some differences than me, but I feel like we're really aligned.
Yeah.
And as I talk to them, realizing how many more differences we had than I had even thought. And I
Really?
thought, yeah, we're already close, but
Mm-hmm.
we have some big differences, but we don't focus on those in our friendship. We're
Mm-hmm.
focusing on what we have in common. And that struck me because we are so quick to go, oh, you're in this bucket.
Right.
You believe this, or you voted for this, or you whatever. Oh, then I'm just going to lump all of you over here.
Yeah.
And we miss so much.
Right.
So I am presenting the book to the Women's Connection in June.
And so are you going to read it, or what are you going
No,
like
I'm
it?
gonna talk about it, but I'm gonna give everyone a copy.
Oh,
Like everyone that comes. And it's a sold out event. It's gonna be great. So yeah. So that's in June. So,
I love it. I highlighted
oh,
a whole bunch of things you said. I also met a devoutly religious woman in her 70s, dressed
mm-hmm.
modestly and soft spoken. From her appearance, I assumed she'd be reserved. Instead, she turned out to be one of the most curious, open minded people I met. I've lived a long time, she told me. And what I've learned is that listening is better than judging. Each of these people defied the assumptions I didn't even realize I was making. Different beliefs, same heart. And
Mm-hmm.
I still have chills when I
I've got
read.
chills all, yeah. And that was the thing, is that it exposed so much of me and my judgments that I
Mhm.
was making about people. Snap, looking at them, summing them up. They
Right.
are this, they must be this.
Yeah.
And I was wrong.
Well, and I love how you like explain these people as very one-dimensional and external, like very like this is how I observe them. Like
Yeah,
just the paragraph prior, you say there was the tattooed biker who initially seemed aloof. Like, so you know, it's like we should never judge a book by its cover. And here is a whole bunch of examples of what what I assumed and how it was wrong and how deep these connections came to
yeah,
us, right?
yeah,
Like just, yeah, or came to you rather.
yeah,
I I loved it so much. I also love where you talk about in chapter 4 where you say what I found is that joy often lives in the ordinary. And I think for so many of us, we sit and we expect joy and bliss to be something extraordinary,
yeah,
to be some huge thing that happens, some amazing event, right? Like your wedding day. Oh my God, that's joy. And while it might be, the joy might be in the one moment that you get to spend with your grandmother just prior to walking down the aisle.
mm-hmm.
Like, and that really struck me as how amazing, and also how amazing that you could see that over the 30 people that you,
It's everywhere. Paul and
yeah,
I had our date night last night. And so we just had our we still do anniversary. I mean, it's the day that we said still do.
yeah,
But it's a special day for us because of really the reasons behind why we did it. And Paul had just gotten through with chemo and radiation. And we were really just looking for an excuse to have a really big party to keep our attention off of what was going on and focusing it on something exciting. And we'd always wanted to have a real wedding because we had a little teeny tiny wedding in our little fourplex that we lived in and with family. But we had some friends that they gave us a gift card to a restaurant that we love, but we just don't ever go anymore. It's Longhorn Steakhouse. And it used to be one of our favorites. But so we're like, let's go do date night tonight. And it was an amazing time. Like we talked, we laughed, we made fun of us for being old because we're eating at like 5:30 at night and we look around and it's all old people. And I'm like, oh my God. So we were laughing and we're walking out. And here comes my assumptions again. I don't think anything of it. There's a guy walking by, a guy walking up, and I'm not assuming anything until they embrace. And it is this full hug, like brotherly love. And it is this big white guy, kind of with this little bandana thing on his head. I think maybe he rode a bike, and a black guy. And they don't look like they belong together. And I went, well, there you go again with your assumptions. And they are laughing and going on and on. And then they start talking about heading over to karaoke night or, and so I just jumped in their conversation. And
Okay.
I'm like, because they are having so much fun. And there is so much, you can feel like the authentic love. And so I'm like, where is this karaoke night? And they're like, oh, it's up at the rabbit hole, just right up the street. Y'all should come. And if we hadn't had to come home, because I did have stuff that I had to get to, like I feel like that was an invitation from the universe. Like,
Mhm.
like I should have dropped everything and said, I don't care, let's go.
Yeah.
But magic happens like that. But we have those moments that we step into. And I now that I'm sitting here 24 hours later, what would have happened if we had gone?
Well, that's what I keep
You
thinking.
know,
What would have happened
we
if you
missed
had?
a moment. We totally missed a moment there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to one of my girlfriends the other day, and there's a church that's, I don't know, 200 years old, 150 years old, beautiful. And it's downtown. She lives out near Boston. And so it's in their little downtown part of their neighborhood. Well, they're wanting to tear it down. And she's like, absolutely not. Like, this building is historic. It's beautiful. Why don't we just renovate it and fix it up, turn it into something? Oh, we need like $34 million. Like, no. She is adamant that this building not be torn down, not because it's a church, it's not like religious reasons. It's just, it is a beautiful piece of art. Let's preserve it. In the past year, she has put together a board of directors.
Oh.
They have gone to the city council who was marking it for demolition, got the city to say, well, we'll give you the deed to this church if you raise this much money to show us that y'all are going to restore it. We'll just hand it to you.
Whoa.
So they have been raising money and they have been doing well. And this guy came in to put this museum like a street or two over. And she was kind of bummed because she's going to make it a cultural center, but she was wanting to have a museum piece in there. And I'm just sitting there going, well, y'all need
Get together.
to get together
Right.
and figure out how to make it happen. Because she was talking about all the money he was raising.
Mm.
And she said, but if he's raising money, that means people like this concept. I'll be able to raise money too. Well, she gets an invitation to go to this mixer. And then she heads there, realizing none of the other board members are there. So she walks in going, well, I'm in this room full of people. I don't know anybody. I could sneak out. No one would notice. No one knows me. But something in her wouldn't let her. And so she said, just go to the bar and get a drink and walk around and see who you can talk to. Do you know who she runs into? The museum guy. Do you know what museum guy tells her? I've got this guy over here I'm going to introduce you to. He was going to give us like $5 million, but because of everything that's going on with the economy, and he's not willing to give that much, but he'd give you 500,000, maybe a million. Like, come on, let's go. Well, then they start talking and she starts explaining really what she wants. He wants to partner with her. He said, is there room for a museum in this building?
Oh.
And she's going, that's what I envisioned in the first place. And holy shit, those are not her words, those are mine. What if I had said, I don't know anybody?
Mhm.
And I had walked out the door. She just made, and he was introducing her to all of these people that she needed to know. Unreal.
Did I tell you, did I tell you what happened to my son just this summer? Like, I don't know, in April?
I don't know.
About, so he had gone out with part of his football team
Mhm.
and he was the designated driver. So he went to this country bar with his team and he was just walking around, sees this girl from our hometown. He goes and says hi, and she's standing with these two men that he didn't know. Introduces himself. They are Texans. They have this digital tech company and they have contracts in Alberta.
Oh.
And they talked to him for literally 5 minutes, offered him a job, but they were looking for someone who would manage Alberta. They need someone local. And I am sitting there thinking, what? They said, come and meet us at this event tomorrow morning. And we'll show you what we do. We'll show you the digital tech. We'll show you. And so he goes the next morning, gets dressed, goes there the next morning, meets all these football players, ex CFL players, ex Div 1 US players, and they're working for this company. And of course, Cole's is a football player, university football player in Canada. I said to him, how in the fuck did this happen? How does these things happen to him all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's that note that I wrote on my mirror.
Yeah.
And he
And what
wrote,
does it say?
and it says, did I tell this story already?
No, I have not heard this story.
Okay. The note says, I am always in the right place at the right time. And he said, like, he had this overwhelming fear or feeling of shit, it's the note at work. I'm always in the right place at the right time.
His subconscious believes that and puts
Yes,
him
was
there.
reprogramming it every day, every day.
Correct. Correct.
And, I think he could have just as easily not walked up and introduced himself.
Yeah.
He was hanging out with his football buddies, right? He didn't need to go and say hi.
But his inner being knew
Right.
that was important.
And then he could have said, nah, right? Sounds like bullshit. Like, it's too much money. I can't imagine. And thanks. And they invited him out for supper just yesterday. And he said, I'm sorry, I have to turn this job down. I need to focus on the draft. I need to focus on where I'm going. I appreciate the offer. I really am interested, possibly post football career, but in this moment, I have to keep my eyes on the prize here.
Yeah.
Yesterday, they phone him. We have 2 days of work for you. How would you like to come out to Edmonton and work with us? And he says, if I have days off, I'll come. He looks, he's got 3 days off. And they're asking for him the 2 of the 3 days off. And my response, he says, I think I'm going to do it. And my response is, of course you have to do it, because God just doesn't bring, or the universe, whatever you believe, just doesn't bring these magical moments to you for you to shit on them and just walk away. They're miracles in the making.
Mm-hmm.
They're just put there for you as this beautiful universal gift.
Yeah. And we have to act.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job.
In
Is
faith. Just act in
knowing.
faith.
Yeah.
just like this came to me for a fucking reason. Let's go see what reason it was.
I
Mm.
remember being so like when I found my new office,
Mm.
going, this was too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I had a little bit of paralysis for 3 days because I'm like, should I just keep looking? I had intuition, and it wasn't intuition. I heard it. Drive around the corner,
Yeah.
drive to the end. Like it was very clear direction.
Yeah.
And then and then it all works to where she's like, yeah, and it is the perfect fit.
Uh-huh.
But it's just that fear of what if this is wrong? And it's like, you don't really think that all of this has lined up for you and it's wrong. And
I think that's the problem that we have is that we second guess the
yes.
things that are easy,
Mm-hmm,
also with the gifts that we have ourselves as
mm-hmm.
humans, right? We have these amazing gifts and they're so innate to us, we just dismiss them. Like that, like everyone must have this gift, right? When we have opportunities that just sort of fall into our lap,
Yeah.
you think, oh, everything that's great
This is
is,
a trick.
yeah, so this is like, it can't be.
Yeah.
When I look back at the miraculous manifestations that I've had, the miraculous things that have happened, it really just all fell into place. It was literally like John or Jean Perret says, the cookbook author, right? A door presented itself and I walked through the door. And then all of a sudden, another door presented itself and I walked through
Yep.
that door. And that is literally how I went from feeding people that got off the train to having a cookbook empire, 200 cookbooks, and just like, I mean, book deals and speaking, and her life just changed. And all she did was walk through this door that was effortlessly put in front of her.
Yeah. And those
Wow.
doors are everywhere.
Mm.
And we don't have to go, oh, I missed it. So I missed an opportunity last night. I did. Totally. There's going to be another one tomorrow.
I do think too, or I convince myself that this is true. That which is meant for you shall not pass you by. Is
Yeah.
this like a religious piece? I don't
I
know.
don't know,
I'm
but I
not
completely
sure.
100% agree with that.
I really think like it'll come up in a different way, just like you had said. The next time when you go to this karaoke night, those two men will be there
Yeah.
because it isn't just about, oh, you've got to go to this fantastic karaoke place, you'll have a lot of fun. It was more than that.
It was there's something about their energy
Mhm.
that was just refreshing. And it also was another reminder to me we're not as disconnected as they want us to think we are.
We are like, possibly we're only disconnected on social fucking media. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
I've really started to look at how many people feel good about themselves posting, openly shitting on someone in the comments section. I've really started to think, what in the fuck is
Well,
the
it's like
matter?
what has happened to us
What
that
has
we
happened
think
to us?
that's okay.
Fear can be a huge disconnector,
Mhm. Yeah.
as you mentioned in your book.
Well, I think we're out of time.
We are.
This was good. Thank you so much, Sandra. And thank
Oh,
you guys for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday on the Happy Half Hour. Bye.
I